what is Wu-Sabat's understanding or take on things like witchcraft and curses and spells and voodoo, and do you, Wu-Sabat, believe that if someone has witchcraft performed against them, can that shackle their development throughout their life? Is that
right? So it's important because when we teach the doctrine of Wu-Sabat, we have to make sure that we're addressing everyone. So although you might ask me a question, we have to clarify things that people may not be familiar with. So for example, we speak in English. And that's the mechanism by which we're using to communicate. So we have to work with that. But at the same time, we recognize that English was not the first language on the planet. And English has many limitations in terms of trying to convey a message. So the words such as belief, and that's why we always say, really understand and break down the word that you're using, because that governs what we may perceive in terms of when we're communicating. And most people have grown up been taught English or went to school, and English is spread across the whole globe to the point where it's one of the most popular languages. So whoever defines the words in English has already kind of like set the precedent for when you're saying a word. So when you say belief, that word is very misleading, because people think if you believe something, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I think what I really should have said is understanding or knowledge. What is Wu-Sabat's understanding and knowledge on that? Would have been a better. Would have been.
No, I'm not. I know what you mean, and I'm doing it for the clarity of everyone.
Sure.
Even when you just said that, look, you've tried to rephrase it, but you still said understanding. And we know again that to be under something, and it's not about being pedantic. It's because the words is what causes the problem and the spell, because there are cultures and civilizations such as Wu-Sabat that predate monotheistic religions, that predate English, that predate even other cultures. So the standard that people use to govern what they're talking about or saying can be misleading when you use words like God, spirit, belief, understanding. And so to actually get to answering the question is that we deal with facts. We deal with, like, for example, when somebody says a spell or a miracle, it's like if you don't break down what that actually means, then many people will have different interpretations or understanding of what they're saying a spell is. Some of it is mainly just science, right? Things that people don't know scientifically, like, for example, what some will call a miracle, without the knowledge of how that's done scientifically, it's amazing to them. It's like, we use technology now all the time, the smartphones, the internet and all kinds of things, social media now. If you went to someone in a remote village or somewhere in the jungle where they've never seen that before, and you show them, say, YouTube or something on a mobile phone, to them, that could be you using voodoo or magic or a spell, because they have no idea how they're able to watch and see people in this small little screen, you see. So what we're to answer the question is that we know the knowledge of how spells or incantations are done, and that's what I'm trying to express with the language, because tones, vibrations and frequencies are how somebody can beguile someone, because they can have you accepting and believing something to be real or true when it's just an illusion or when it's science, you see. So for example, imagine that if you accept someone can cast a spell on you, the fact that you believe it is giving that energy or that power to that person, because everybody can be loved and everybody can be hated at the same time by different people. So now if we take it all the way to, let's say, God, who's supposed to be or Allah or Yahweh, whatever name you want to use. He's supposed to be the example, the ultimate good, protection, power, etc., right? And then you have the other side where they will say the counterpart to that is the devil, who is the person is the cause for. So if we had two columns, on the devil side, you're going to have chaos, hate, jealousy, envy, wars, famine, all the negative things that you can possibly think about in this world. Those will be attributed to this person or this being or these people called the devil, the people that cast spells and do voodoo, all the stuff that someone on that other side is going to consider to be bad. Then on the other side, love, happiness, smiling, and all the things that are supposedly good, they're going to say it's on the side of God. But then you're saying, so who's responsible for casting, if you want to say, a spell to make all the bad people that are doing the evil? Who's responsible for that? Who gives those people that power to be able to do that? And if you accept that someone can love you and someone can hate you, then it means either way, you're still the person that has to react or respond to the love,
Okay.
or the hate and the love. So you are really the person that actually ultimately decides how anything affects you. Do you follow?
Okay, so what I'm hearing you saying is that, regardless of what people are performing, whatever rituals they've gone through, for that to be effective is dependent on how I interpret.
And when I said respond, there's like, again, the English is going to be something I keep coming up with, because you have RESPAWN, respawn, and then you have the word respond as in RESPOND.
Yeah.
People may not be familiar with the differences between the two, and that's how slightly different it can be from the spell working on you or not working on you.
Right.
Like understanding and overstanding.
Yeah.
You see me? Or the Holy Ghost or the Holy Spirit. You see what I mean? Or good or bad or disagreeable and agreeable. They are very tiny differences. It's just 1 degree either way that will swing the pendulum to how you respond to how it affects you. So if you say, this then lines up to what I'm saying about who the highest beings are. Because if you say, I worship or I communicate with or I have allegiance to a good being that is loving, caring, compassionate, and is agreeable, then that should reflect in your life.
Yeah.
Because you can't be a miserable person, unclean, dirty, untidy, creating chaos, wars, all the disease and all of that. You can't be a representation of that, but claim to have someone that is the opposite to that is giving you that power. So what you see in life is people who are, have a positive, optimistic way about them. They laugh, they're caring, they're joyful, and they just have a good energy about them.
Yeah.
And then you have other people who just are miserable.
Yeah.
They are, they don't get along with people. They fight, they argue. It's just all the negative side. But then you say to that person, all you have to do is change your mindset from that mindset of looking at everyone and the world and everything as negative and bad to a positive one. And then you then address yourself as in, which side do you more lean to? Are you the kind of person that when you're around people, they like you, they want to spend time with you, they think you're a nice person and, peaceful, etc., etc.? Or are you the type of person that you just come around and you bring that negative energy? No one wants to be around you. You're untidy, you're unclean, you just arguing all the time. You just, do you know what I mean? And I'm saying it is very clear it's up to you which side you choose to be in. Now, the best place to be is in the middle, which is balanced. So you don't, it's not like you're such a pushover that you allow people to abuse you and you just take all the crap and everything from everyone. But at the same time, you're also balanced enough to know how to be the person, be the example and the person that you would like to see in the world. Like they say, be the change in the world that you'd like to see. So Wu-Sabat is more leaning to the positive and agreeable side by helping everyone to realize that how did we get to these situations of the issues or the problems in the world. And a lot of the times you find that that is by way of religion and the deities that are over those religions, or the gods and the, you know, I mentioned many names that are over those religions who behave that way. So the subjects that then, you know what I mean, like follow them, they also behave that way. So if you're a peaceful, calm, loving, caring person, more than likely your gods or ancestors or the people that you look up to are going to be loving, caring, peaceful, etc., etc. Did that help?
Yeah, it's I think like what I've, you know, growing up, my mum was always a bit of a seer, you know, and it's like from everything being normal, all of a sudden she started experiencing a lot of spiritual activity, you know, and she was convinced that people were performing witchcraft, you know, with witches and all that, and my dad was sort of saying, you know, that stuff don't exist, blah blah blah. And it was one day we was driving into the village, you know, my nan's village, because my mum was saying it's my nan, and we're coming out of the witches' houses. We nearly run her over. Yeah. You know, so
I'm not saying it's not real. There are people out there that work, you know, what they call magic, but they cast spells and they do all of these things. But what I'm saying with Wu-Sabat is when we dissect it and go into the details of how that is working and who's doing it, a lot of those people are connected to entities that are operating on a different realm and vibration, whether you want to call it the spirit world or the, do you know what I mean, the other realms that you can operate from. So you have entities on different vibrations in the same space that can affect you, whisper into your ears, make you make decisions that are going to be ultimately disadvantage to you. So when you know all of this and you start to understand that, there are even extraterrestrials and certain entities that are the one pulling the strings to affect people in the three-dimensional world. But the minute you start to align yourself and cleanse yourself and deal with your ancestors, both in that realm, because you have ones that are for you and you have the ones that are not for you. And it's that way all the way up the different realms. So you have to know which entities that are doing this. So for example, people will call on Jesus or atone, but they've never actually taken the time to know what entity is that they're calling on, that is doing the things in the physical world. And it's interesting because that's why I always give you the scenario of the good and bad, because anything that happens in their life that is good, if they've convinced themselves that it's because of this entity called Jesus, they will always say, oh, thank Jesus, or it's Jesus that saved me, it was Jesus that. And that's the same for anyone else, Muhammad, Buddha, whatever. But they don't actually know who or what that entity is. And then if it's something negative, they will just say it's the devil. You know, the devil done it, the devil done it. And then you say, but who is more powerful?
So it's basically what I'm hearing you saying is that stuff can only really impact me if I'm operating on the same level vibration as those things operate.
If you know who's doing it and how to counteract it. And when I say who, I don't mean just in the physical. I'm talking about spirit. In all the realms.
Okay. So that sounds quite complex and not so easy to.
It actually isn't. That's the thing. They make it seem complex. Because if you don't know about the different realms. I use the word realms because
Yeah.
it's easier, because you have like the physical realm,
Sure.
you have the spiritual realm,
Yeah, yeah.
you have, you know, the soul realm, the mental realm, the etheric realms, and all of these realms, they all intertwined,
Okay.
but going up. So the higher vibrations, the higher you go, you get to the more etheric or spiritual. This is where beings have elevated themselves to those higher realms, operate from there. It's almost like, to make it simple, it's like if you look at a country or a business, any structure, it has that type of pyramid shape, right?
Sure.
Where you might have like the head person at the top, like whether it's the prime minister or the president or the king or whoever holds the highest position. Then beneath that, you will have the people that are around that person. So if it's a prime minister or president, it'll be like, you know, the cabinet or the advisors and so on. And then you go down to the, if it's a company, it'll be like the CEO. Then you might have his chief executive board, and then go down to them, the managers, employers, and then the chain of command normally comes from up down, like from president down, prime minister down, or CEO down, or whatever, right? So when that's the case, you have to realize that if the person at the top is disagreeable or a bad person, that's going to filter down. And that's the same way with this whole thing about, okay, who is the most powerful person? Because if you're telling me that God is the most powerful, then why does he allow the devil or all the bad entities to do what they do? So you yourself, if you were like trying to get a decision made or get something done, you could go to your manager. And if your manager can't do it, maybe he doesn't like you or whatever, he's going to block you. But if you're able to bypass him and go to his manager and go all the way to the person at the top, you will get your decision made and your answer. So it's the same way when we're dealing with these entities. You have entities that are on low vibration, and they feed off of the negativity and the energy that they generate for the lower vibrations. But as you move to the higher vibrations, those beings, they feed off of that energy. So it's literally like, we know that our ancestors, they are loving, caring beings. So we bypass all the subordinates or the people that are holding you down, creating the negativity and all that to keep you in a lower vibration. So by you raising your vibration, connecting with your ancestors, and going all the way to the higher beings that are gonna make the best decisions in your life, then you start to take control of your life. So it's really not that hard. It's just about you making the decision.
I suppose, that really explains what Wu-Sabat is really doing. Is their purpose is to kind of
raise you
into that. And I know you spoke about in the past, Wu-Sabat deals with certain, because I know the conversation came about who you pray to and things. You know, a lot of people saying you pray to Jesus, God.
Yeah.
And I know you've often said you pray, you'll get better at praying to yourself or your ancestors, and Wu-Sabat deals with certain rituals in how to connect with your ancestors and all that. Now that's something that
because you're doing it anyway, but you just don't realize that all you're doing is, when you're saying I'm praying to this one or that one, you have to remember that whatever the name you're calling, if they were actual people, then they have a family. So it's a family line that you're calling on. And the word family literally comes from beings or people you're familiar with. That's what I said about the language, familiar, family. You can kind of hear it, but it's ever so slightly done in a way that it throws you off, even though you think you're doing the right thing. So when you're saying, calling on a name, you're just giving your energy to someone else's family. And that family, if they don't like you or not for you, they're not going to respond to you. They're just going to give you false hopes. Whereas the first thing is to tune into yourself. You have to know who you are, as in, who do I come from? What's my lineage? And then in your family, you're going to have good and bad people, or we say agreeable or disagreeable people,
Absolutely, yeah, yeah.
because you are you are from that line of people to be here today. So your DNA and your RNA and everything that makes you up goes back to your mum and dad and their mum and dad and their mum and dad, going back for generations. Some of them, like you, want to help you because they've crossed over to the other realms and have made it, or they were good people, if you want to use that term. And now they're looking at you from that side, and you're walking the walk towards where they are. So they can help you to come to where they are. Then you have others that were not agreeable, even though in religion they just teach you that you go to heaven if you're good, or you go to hell if you're bad. But they don't tell you that there are states in between that you can be trapped in. So that's why I always ask the question, if you only go to heaven or go to hell, why do people go to the graveyard, to a tombstone, to talk and lay flowers down for someone that they're saying is no longer there? The reality is that they're confessing to you that they are still here. They're roaming the planet because they haven't made it, but they don't have a physical body anymore. So you have disagreeable entities and agreeable entities that are also roaming the planet. So then all you're doing is, when you connect with who you are and you realize who you are, connected to your parents and their parents and so forth, then you realize some of them have crossed over and they're on the other side. And some of them mean well for you. They will guide you. Like, so when you're thinking, this is where thoughts are so important, because before you carry out any action, you think first. Like, you struggle with, shall I do this or shall I not do it? Shall I go here or not go there? Shall I listen to this person or not listen to that person? And that decision making is governed by your mind. Even though we say your mind, we teach you Wu-Sabat by way of the master teacher that your mind is not in your head. The mind is a vast, big thing. That's why they say the mind, you're limitless. Like, your mind can really do anything. And that's because it's in something called a reservoir, the mental reservoir, that we all tap into or connect to. And in that reservoir, there's also agreeable thoughts and disagreeable thoughts. So when you're pulling these thoughts into you, if you pull the wrong ones, they're going to give you the wrong information and you're going to make the wrong decisions. If you pull the right ones, they're going to help you. And that's the way that you start to communicate with your ancestors once you know who you are, who they are. And then, of course, there's a hierarchy of beings past your ancestors. Because when we say ancestor, this is where anthropologists on the planet, they'll be like, okay, you can say my ancestors go all the way back to this point. And then you look at the other race or other races on the planet, and everybody will say my ancestors go all the way back. But then they will say, well, there must be a common ancestor that we all come from, or where we started from. This is where the whole kind of like racism and races on the planet comes in. But we know as, Musbatu or Sabians, that it's not even an argument that you end up back in Africa. And most people will agree that life started in Africa. So that's where we tie all the way back to in terms of our ancestors.
So was the Nubians the first human beings, basically?
Yeah,
So
that's not even an argument now, because you can just trace DNA. But even then, you also have to say, when we say the first, how far back are we going? And what are we calling the first? Because humans, we only seem to be interested from the first humanoids or the first human beings, which would be the Africans. But I'm saying there are other types of life forms that go way, way, way back before the humanoids came on the planet. And that's why I'm saying that when you look at yourself now, you have to say to yourself, well, who am I? You can look at your skin suit, like the body, the physical you, but you have other parts of you, like your spirit, your soul, if you have one, and just your etheric being, your energetic being. So there's more to you that meets the eye, and each one of those parts of you is connected to those higher realms I'm talking about.
Yeah, so that's my mission really, is to connect to, and obviously I mean, like I look back at my sort of heritage goes back to Turkish people or Mongolians, you know, so it goes back to sort of apparently Central Asia.
That's right.
You know, that sort of region. So that's as far as I've got really.
Okay.
So.
But what I'm saying is, that's on the physical, but you also have
the other realms,
the other realms as well that
yeah.
you have connection to.
But to be fair, I'm obviously more interested in, you know, the other realms and all that, because they seem to play a far more important role in.
But like, remember what we were saying at the beginning about how people perceive success and someone who they consider not to be success based on like materialism and riches and stuff like that. So, you know, like the way you are in the physical on the lower vibration is directly a result of your other realms. Absolutely. Like your mentality, your spirituality, all the things that you do on the higher realms have an impact on you.
Absolutely.
On the physical.
So
it's a matter of tapping in, and that's what with the books like you know, we got a few books I brought, you know, like The Mind, for example. This book, as small as it is, that's a very good book to start with. That deals with your mind, because you tap into the mental reservoir when you deal with the mind. Then this one, Your Potential. Your Potential literally shows you how to then utilize the power, because when you say the word potential, you're hearing potency. That deals with your power. Obviously we have a fast track.
I saw that on your videos.
Because what this does is it helps you kind of like, because the reason we even wrote this book or put it together was because we kept being asked the question, how can I get all this information you talk about very quickly? And then this will lead you in terms of the references to the many scrolls and the books that the master teacher pulls. And of course, this is an excellent book, Jesus Found in Egypt. Because when we're talking about breaking the spell and dealing with the reality, it's about, okay, they've found people that existed years and years ago that were doing all these great things and taken their DNA and they've established who they are. And this is where the whole religion, in terms of Christianity and the monotheistic religions, are taken from ancient Egypt. Which is why everyone, you know, talks about how great the Egyptians were, the pyramids, etc. But then what happens is everybody then tries to claim the greatness. Anything that is good, great, really, like people try to claim it, even if they're not if it's not them. So this is where the distortions and the lies and things come into it.
But it's funny, like you said, I've heard you apologise for the confusion that religions have caused to people. When I'm one of those, you know, I've got seriously confused with conflicting things that don't add up. You know, like the whole in Christianity, like Egypt's painted as this occultic, demonic, the opposing forces to God. You know, anything to do with Egypt, you know, and all that. So, and everything, you know, that's demonic. And I've asked questions about aliens in church, extraterrestrials, and it's just they're demons, you know. And I'm thinking, well, that doesn't really, it's not anything that they don't know, they'll pass it off as demonic or against Christ and all that, you know.
But you've said a very key point. Unfortunately, this is, even in the books that they use in religion, they tell you that the devil will make evil fair seeming. In other words, he will make bad things look good. And the confusion comes by way of giving you something called multiple choice, where someone has already laid out the choices of Christianity, Islam, Judaism, Buddhism, Hinduism, whatever, and then says you choose one. But whichever one you choose, if they're not giving you the full truth, you're at lost. So that's what happens. And when you say, how is it that Christianity, Islam, Judaism all or they talk about the one person or the one God or the same Jesus, or like how Abraham, how then, if you follow the same person, if you all follow Abraham, why are you all confused and
Trying to kill each other, basically.
yeah, going in different directions? If you all follow Jesus, why are you having all these conflicts? If you all follow the one God, why are you not agreeing? And that's because of what they do, where, like I said, the multiple choice to still have you confused, because whichever one you choose, you're not going to be happy because it's not the truth. So you just end up going from one to the other, and people can spend their entire life being a Christian, thinking they're being told the right things, but they're not allowed to question it, or, do you know what I mean, probe. And then when you do, you get outcast.
Yeah, the minute you probe, you can start they start very prickly, you know.
Yeah.
It's like that, because what's happening is you're challenging their what they've built their life on, which is they've put all their eggs into one basket.
Yep.
And the minute you question anything that might question that,
Yeah.
they don't want to deal with that.
Yeah.
It's too much.
Exactly.
Because they've built a whole life and belief system on it, you know.
But the thing is, if you then ask them, why can't you question? Why is it blasphemous to ask a question?
Yeah.
And then the ultimate question I had when I was in that situation was, well, who's making me think of this question? If I'm not supposed to ask it, why give me the ability to think of the question? And they can't say, if they say it's the devil, or, you know, it's the devil that's making you think that, then I say, but why doesn't God stop the devil from me thinking that? Because God is supposed to be more powerful than the devil. It cannot be equal to the devil or less than the devil. I mean, if he's equal, then you're saying God is not the most powerful. If he's less than the devil, then you're saying the devil's more powerful. If you're saying he's most powerful, then you have to say, well, why doesn't he get rid of the devil? And whichever answer they can't deal with, so they turn it on you, like you're the problem, because they don't actually know the answer.
Yeah, they always like, keep your eyes on Jesus, keep your eyes on Jesus. And going back to my question about who we pray to and that, it's weird. From the day one, like being in Christianity, the word Jesus always brought up something for me that, how do I explain it? I couldn't connect with the word itself. So when I said pray to Jesus, the word, and then when I heard actually his name was Yeshua, the word, the letter J didn't even exist in them times. Like,
that's right.
What's used as J today was Y in the old Hebrew text and that. So I've had this with the pastor, you know, why are we calling somebody by a name that wasn't their name?
But to answer the question about prayer, first of all, you have to ask yourself, what is prayer?
Okay.
Do you see what I'm saying? Because that's what I'm saying about words, and we just get put into something and we accept it and follow it, but we don't stop and say, okay, let's analyze prayer. What is prayer?
See, for me, my understanding of prayer and of how I've tried to use it is when I'm struggling on this realm, is to asking for help to guide me. It's like, for me, it's guidance.
Right. But ultimately, it's communication.
Communication.
You're trying to communicate with someone or something for help or assistance. Right. So then, when we deal with communication, like we're having a communication right now, we're having a dialogue. So I'll ask you a question, or maybe I'll say, can you help me pass that book over to me? And then you either do it or you don't, right? And vice versa. So if you are communicating with someone, then you should at least know who you're communicating with, and you should get a response. But what happens is people just talk. In fact, they're talking to themselves, whether it's in silence or in a room full of people or in a church, a mosque, a masjid, and you're talking, but you're not getting the answer. Or you will say, let me go about my life, do whatever I'm doing. And then when whatever it is you want happens, you will automatically just say that it was the person or whoever you were calling on speaking to. But there's no confirmation. So if you wanted something right now, like, I don't know, you wanted a job or something, right? And you say, I want to get a job, right? You might go, and pray and say, whoever name you call, help me get a job. But the reality is, you're not going to get that job until you do the work. Like, you have to go and look for the job, fill out the application forms, go for interviews or whatever you need to do. And based on your performance and how you do, you may or may not get the job. Now, if you go for an interview and you don't get the job, then who do you blame for that? You see what I mean? You might be like, oh, the devil stopped me from getting the job. If you get it, you say, oh, thanks Jesus, or thank God I got the job. But the reality is, if you didn't take the steps to do anything, you would not get that job. And it's the same with everything else. You can apply that to, like, if you're hungry right now, you can pray all day and say, can I have some food, to whoever you're praying to. But the argument that religious people will come with will be like, that I did get that help, or I prayed and it was because of them that I got it. But the reality, it's not. It's you. You are the person responsible. And that's why, okay, I say you, but again, remember what I said before, like, you will get assistance from your ancestors and the other beings that are, you know, in your favor on the other realms that will work with you and help you as well. So we're not saying that you cannot communicate with your ancestors. That's where we say, okay, we know that our ancestors actually exist because we exist and our parents exist and their parents exist. That's proven. But when you're calling on an entity or someone that you don't know existed, you're just going by hearsay. You're going by someone told you they existed and you never saw them or knew them for yourself. So it's a belief. It's like, but you don't actually know who the real entities behind it. Then when we come along and say, do you know that what you're calling God, what you're calling Jesus, these are actual demonic entities? That's a shock to most people. Right? But then you start saying, look at what they do in the Bible. Like, only a demonic entity will put a place called hell to torture you forever, that will drown people, create wars, create all kinds of chaos on the planet and allow it to continue, where you see, because you see like people drop bombs, and even what's going on with Palestine and going on with Ukraine and going on right now as we speak. But yet they will say they're doing it in the name of their God. And it just doesn't make any sense, because if that God is able to make everyone, both sides, whether it's the Israelis or the Palestinians, get along and live happily ever after in one place, if he can do that, why not do that instead of allowing one to, you know what I mean? We can go back to Hiroshima, Nagasaki, we can go throughout all the wars on the planet. But yet these religious wars and religious people claim that their being is in their favor, but will allow them to torture and make other people suffer. And this is what Wu-Sabat doesn't deal with. Wu-Sabat knows that that can't be a loving, caring, powerful being. That's a demonic being that is going to put you through so much, whether it's slavery or even with Lot, take everything away from him, give him a different wife, except for the one that he actually loved. Just put you through so much. Even the whole Jesus coming to die for your sin, getting crucified, and nailed on the cross, you know, all that stuff is not a nice thing. It's a very demonic thing to do to somebody, and all to do what? To say he's come to remove sin from the world. But then you ask them the question, why is there still sin in the world? They can't answer it. The best they can say is, he's testing you. But you say, why? The purpose of a test is to know the outcome, right? But he already supposedly knows everything. He's everywhere, he's omnipresent, omnipotent, he knows everything. But he needs to test me to find out an answer. Then religious people will say, oh, he already knows the answer, but he just wants to test you to see if you know the answer. It's like, but he already knows what I know. it literally makes no sense. But you still have people till this day and time that are going to rather, they defy their own logic of things that make sense just to have a belief of something that doesn't make sense, in hopes that they're going to go to this fictitious place that's been prepared for them to live happily ever after, called heaven.
Yeah, you said something a little while back, and it makes complete sense. Because in the whole Christian community, you see so many people struggling, you know, and then what they're taught is, well, it's okay to suffer in this life because you're going to heaven.
Yeah.
But what you're saying is, who does that benefit to keep someone suffering their whole life?
Yeah, who?
Thinking that because of the promise of heaven, so that really suits somebody else, doesn't it?
It does,
you know?
absolutely.
And that's the general thing in the Christian world, is I'm thinking, but why can't you enjoy? I've always said this, actually, my belief system, even though I used to challenge people in Christianity, I believe heaven and hell exist in this. You experience that
you do
today.
Right. Yeah.
You know, that is heaven and hell to me. You don't have to go to some place
External
to have
place,
that.
yeah.
Your daily experiences reflect both.
That's
for me,
right.
you know.
That's right. And then when you let's look into heaven. What do you get when you get there?
Yeah, the description is you. And even though a lot of Christians, if they're totally honest, say none of this really is like I can connect to it.
Yeah,
but
it
it's
makes
in the
no
book,
sense.
so I'm gonna go with that.
So it ultimately comes down to fear.
Yeah.
You're fearing this God. That's the only reason you're fearing, because, or Allah. I have to use both, because sometimes it seems like we're just attacking Christianity, or we're not attacking anyone. We're just making things make sense, so that the person who's thinking, you know, this doesn't actually make sense, they can actually look at it and say, does that make sense or not? Because what you're saying is, there's a place called hell where I'm going to be tortured for the rest of my life because I didn't follow and do what this book or this deity or entity says that I should do. So because I'm afraid of going to hell, that's why I'm going to church, so that I can seem to be a good person or have favor with this entity, and then at the end of my life, I'm not going to go to hell. So I'm going to go to heaven instead. But no one thinks about heaven when you say, okay, let's analyze heaven, because they'll say, you're no longer going to suffer, you're going to live peacefully forever and ever and all of that, right? And then you say, well, what about when you die and when you go to heaven, where do you go? How do you arrive? They give you this St. Peter's and the curly gates to allow you in and all of that. But you go in, okay, what age are you when you get to heaven? Do you remain that age forever? What if you're sick? Okay, you're no longer sick of whatever disease or whatever you had, right? But now what do you do when you're in heaven? And just imagine that place with millions and millions and millions of people that have arrived. And then what? Do they get an apartment? Do they go to work? Do they just walk around? It's like when you actually break it down and go, what do you do? Do you go to sleep? Do you wake up? Do you have a bath? Do you wear clothes?
Oh, that's the mystery of God that you'll be
Right.
granted when you get there.
Because they can't answer the question.
Don't question God. Don't worry. Just that'll be taken care of when you get there.
Yeah,
you know?
and that's one of the best stories ever told. Meaning, if I can sell you something that doesn't exist, that's the best business I can be in. Imagine, right? It's like dust. What do you call them? Dustbin bags. If I can sell you something that is rubbish, because if you think about dustbin bags, right? You put rubbish in it, and then what happens to them? They get recycled, and then you use them again and again and again and again. And if I can sell you something that doesn't exist, it's even better than that business of selling you something that you destroy, and then I just recycle it and give it back and sell it back to you. So imagine I've spent £1 on this dust bag or dustbin bag, and then I use it, I throw it away, they recycle it, I spend another £1 on it, and I use it. So I'm continuously spending that money, because it's always going to be recycled. The same with going to heaven. It's like, I'm selling you a dream. It's like a holiday. You know those places where they go, oh, you can buy this apartment in this country and it's just there for you when you retire, or when you want to go, you can go and use it, but you never see it.
Yeah.
So heaven is this place that it sounds nice, but when you start to question, like, what do you do when you get there? It's so confusing, because you have babies that have crossed over. You have adults that have crossed over. You have elders that have crossed over. Now, if you just ask that simple question, what age are you when you get to heaven? If they say you're going to remain at the age you came in, as a baby, you're going to be a baby forever. Yeah. As an adult, you're going to be an adult forever. If you're elder, you're going to be it makes no sense. And then everyone is looking for their loved ones in heaven. And it's literally just a story. We know in Wu-Sabat, that's why I said to you, we deal with knowledge and we deal with actual facts, like what we call in heaven. We're talking about places that exist. We're talking about extraterrestrials or beings that live and exist in these places. The word haven, Haven, is where they get the word heaven from. It's a docking station where crafts go from here there. And they show you this in all the scientific movies, like, and they show you that extraterrestrials have technology and they live in a particular way. So it's not that spookism that they teach you in religion. So Wu-Sabat basically gets you to question things to the point where you demystify it. You question it so much till you get the answers. And because we can answer any question, the religious world are baffled, because how are you not able to answer these questions? Well, we can answer the questions because we pre-exist, we predate all of these man-made books and stories that were plagiarized from these ancient tablets, like the Sumerian tablets. You know, there's so many of them talking about entities or beings coming from somewhere else. And even in the Bible, they talk about, you know, the Pleiades, they talk about the Orion, and they call it Oranos in the Greek. You can go to Amos 5:8, Job 9:9. You look at the whole thing to do with God in heaven, the angels, Daniel, Ezekiel, Muhammad riding a craft to go to heaven. The book of Revelations talks about the crystal city, and it's so detailed in terms of what it's really saying. But that message gets distorted in religion to confuse people, and people are walking around with mental health issues, and they're actually really lost because too much confusion, like you say, too much conflict in things. 1 minute God can't be seen, in another breath Moses goes to see him, or Muhammad goes to the heavens and speaks to Allah, but he's behind a veil. You know, there's all these things where when you really break them down, it's literally talking about extraterrestrials. But because it was made like you're crazy when you talk about, oh, little green men, and, you know, you're mad, you can't question God.
I think people are scared. I think the truth is, from my thing, is people are so scared to accept that we're actually, you've got extraterrestrials amongst us, and we might even have some of their bloodlines in us.
Yeah,
so a lot of people,
do.
It's like beyond comprehension. So they don't even, it's easier for them to label you as being crazy.
Right, because you don't have a scientific mind when you're a believer.
You know, yeah, and one final question. Do you, trying to find the best way to word this.
Take your time.
Yeah, it's been, I have a friend who obviously used to, you know, was a Christian, used to pray and all that. Now they're saying I pray to Enki, because they believe that Enki is, I'll say the word believe again.
I'm with you. Yeah.
Their understanding is that, or understanding that Jesus or Yeshua was a reincarnation of Enki.
Right. Again, whatever information anybody comes up with, we have to break it down. We have to dissect it. Like, do you know who Enki is, and where do you know about Enki from, and like, what did Enki do? Like, what's his whole story? And Enki didn't like humans, and like, if you know the story of the Anunnaki and what took place, they were supposedly here to mine gold because they needed it to go and help protect their ozone layer that was depleting, and the ultraviolet rays was killing off the beings, much like how it's happening with us now, where we're talking about global warming. Sure. And you know, in Australia you had a big gaping hole where, you know, the ozone layer was depleting. And so what I'm saying is, if you know the story, they came to get the gold just to protect their planet. But it's just that when they got here, what Enki started to do, he was responsible, because the word Enki actually means, the word Ki was the name of the planet,
Okay.
of the planet Earth at one time. So he was like ruler of Ki. So his name, that's a title. His real name is Nudimud.
Okay.
Right? And then he was supposed to be like managing that project, getting the gold, and they were taking it, shipping it off to Mars, and then from Mars back home. And you had his brother Enlil, which again, Enlil means that master of the skies or the heavenly one, and Nu also means the heavenly one or the most high. So this whole project was about them getting the gold. But because of the atmosphere of Earth at that time, it wasn't really conducive for their type of being. So they found that work quite hard. And so Enki, because he was on the Earth managing the project, he got a bit carried away. His ego got to him. He started to wear the gold, and everyone started to kind of like worship him. Then he terraformed the planet. He built a lot of underwater cities. But he was against, initially he was against the creation of another being that's gonna basically do the work. And or he was like, if they do the work, we need to wipe them out after that. Whereas, so the battle between him and Enlil, his brother, we have a book upstairs called The Conflict of the Gods, which goes into great detail about this whole situation. And then their father, Anu, had to kind of like intervene. But Anu was having a conflict with his brother called Alalu as well, who had also escaped and came down here. When he came down here, he saw what Enki was doing and they worked together, but he was being chased. But I'm cutting the story short because it's a long story. But I'm saying that, so the whole religious world, that's why I said to you that these monotheistic religions of Abrahamic origins, they are really coming from the support of the people who supported Enki. And in the Bible, he becomes known as Yahweh. And the people who supported Enlil. And in the Bible, he's known as Baal. So this is what I'm saying, that if you don't know the information and can't tie the biblical scriptures to where they come from, it's misleading, so you don't really know what's going on. So religions are based on two conflicts between two people, and some people taking one side, and they now worship that person because he's like that CEO or that king or that president or prime minister to them. And then you got the other side that worships Enlil. So in the Bible, when you see words like Adonijah, or that words that end with Jah, Elijah, Adonijah, those are all the people that were on Enki's side. And then you have Enlil, where you have the words that end with L, like I think of like Raphael. Like you look at all those names, that's the side of Enlil. And the same thing was going on with the supporters of Anu, who was the one in the highest position. So it's translated as the Most High in the Bible. But when you look in the Greek, it says Anu, A-N-O, right? But the O, when you study languages again, it's interchangeable with the vowel. So Anu, A-N-U, the U can change from the O. But anyway, it's the same thing today, where you have the Jacob and Esau, which ends up with now the Palestinians and the Israelis. You got the Israelites and the Egyptians, all the way to today, where you have the Democrats against the Republicans, or the the Conservative, with the Labour, and it's like it goes all the way down to even sports. Like you have Arsenal against Manchester United, and it's this competition is because in order for the conflicts and the competition to take place, it means there's a good side and a bad side. So someone's going to win the game and they're going to be happy carrying the cup and they're all like celebrating, or whatever competition it is, right? And someone's going to lose the match and they're going to have that negative energy, and that feeds these negative beings. So whoever's creating the most chaos, wars, you know, whatever on the planet, that energy is feeding this disagreeable beings, because that's what they thrive off of. And then it's the same on the other side. So you now being an innocent bystander, you get caught up in two wars or two people fighting, whether it's God and the devil, or, you know, the two sides I've explained already. So you have to then recognize how that then manifests in you, because you're also mixed in by your DNA to the two natures of the two sides. So you have to recognize, like, okay, you have an animal side of you, right, which makes you behave like an animal, meaning like you need carnal desires, you need to eat food, you need to, you know, sleep, you need to do certain things that feed the physical you. And the whole world is designed for you to focus on that side of you. Because if I'm someone that I'm in a position where I'm more powerful than you, if I take away all your food, you're going to need to eat. So you're going to react or respond based on the fact that that physical you needs physical food. But then you also have your, what people term spiritual side, or your positive, agreeable side, the higher self. And that side needs to be in a peaceful environment, loving, caring environment. You know, want to deal with higher thoughts, how, you know, we can help everyone, get rid of diseases, get rid of famine, get rid of homelessness, you know, all the stuff that we could all coexist and live in a peaceful, harmonious way. And as you're striving to do that side, you have to fight these other beings that are based on greed, taking all the wealth, having all the food, having all the weapons, but tell you you're not allowed to have any weapons. Because if you have weapons, it means it's a level playing field, right? Because I can't come and bully you and take all your resources, take your land, take your food, and take whatever.
It's insanity.
It's insanity. So if I have all the advantages, of course I'm going to bully you, you know? And this is the thing in the world where, but the thing is, the people that are doing that is a small handful. You know, they call them the elite, they call them the globalists, they call them, but these are families of people that run the world. And they're all about, we control everything, so we dictate what you do in your life. So now, if we say you can't eat, if we say you're sanctioned, or we put tariffs on you, then if we have all the missiles, but you're not allowed to have any, like,
it's quite convenient.
It's very convenient.
Yeah.
It's very convenient. And that's where the fear comes in, because this God's going to burn you up. You're going to suffer. And if you don't suffer now to gain favor later, then you're doomed, then you're damned.
Yeah.
But you, like, in the same neighborhood, in the same country, you can be living in hell, or you can be living in heaven. Because you can go to places where you have big mansions, you know, they have money, the best cars, the best houses, best food. Then you go to another neighborhood and they can't find food to eat. There's homelessness, there's diseases, it's like, and then you say, in God we trust. Which God? Which God is making this separation between those who have and those who don't have? And Wu-Sabat just brings it to the point where, look, don't feed that God. Don't feed those negative beings. Don't feed those people your energy and your power. Don't pray to them, because they can't help you anyway. They're just using you. And once they're finished with you, they just discard of you. You see, so you take responsibility for your life, for how you treat people. And most people do want to have a peaceful environment and just get along. Like they'll tell you in the Bible, treat others as you would like to be treated. Do you know what I mean? And it's like we can know of each other and coexist in peace if we can just get rid of the things that causes the divisions. And one of the tools is that religion. But people have been taught to think that it's a good thing. It's a good guy, it's a good thing, you're going to a good place. But unfortunately, it's just a fancy story that it's not true. And the reality for people to accept that, for some people it's very hard because they've believed it all their life.
All their lives, and especially if they've had certain positive experiences in their life, it's very easy for them to say, well, look, this has happened, so there's, this works for me, I'm following the truth.
But the thing is, they say that, but they can't prove it. We say to them, yes, you have positive things, but it's not necessarily who you think it is. It's you, it's your ancestors, it's those beings that are rooting for you to make it and, climb this ladder of reality. Yeah. I think the reality is there's some people who are quite stuck in that way, like you said, in that conflict way of the lower realms, and they don't even know that, There's higher.
There's higher, or that they need to, or they want a higher. And there's the people that live on the higher realms and the higher vibrations, and I think there's those ones as well that's kind of conflicting in the middle, and they're conscious enough to know that they're operating in some lower vibrations, but have a desire for the...
You see, the thing is, they didn't have any alternative before, because like I said, multiple choice is no choice. So what they might do is like be a Christian, trying to find the truth, trying to find the right way, and trying to be amongst people that want to live the way they do, but they don't find it in Christianity. So they go, let me go into Islam. They go there and it's the same thing. They go, it's not here, let me go here. And they just keep going around in a circle until they come to Wu-Sabat. And the reality is that the people that are at the top, that are causing all the problems, it's only a small handful, but they've managed to use the knowledge of the fact that you can create your own reality, but they do it on a mass scale to the people that are at the bottom who are not aware of this knowledge. And they fear that the majority or the more people that wake up, it's going to affect their ability to continue to hold them down and control them. And this is what's been happening, but this is happening by natural nature, meaning that the planet, the cosmos, the higher, aspects of society and life knew this time was going to come where there will be a consciousness shift, or they call it, the Aquarian age, or we know it as the sun cycle, because there's a revolution that takes place, as in within your being, yourself. You have to come to the realization, like, I've been under a spell. And then when you wake up from that spell, you're like, wow, like I didn't see this before. All these years I was doing this, calling on this, going here, doing this, and it hasn't worked for me. And now I'm awake, I see through the games, I see through the lies, and now I want the truth. That's why they end up with Wu-Sabat, because anything that is true can be tested, and truth is a higher vibration, and you know it, and it will resonate with you because you will feel it and you know it's the truth. It's not because I say it, but when you apply it in your life, it will make sense and it will work. And the more of us that do that, the easier it is for us to break down the walls of this irreality that we've been subjected to for 6,000 years. Because that's how long the spell, talking about casting spell, the spell was casted to give you this, what you call amnesia of knowing the truth, ignorance, which means you don't check anything out, you don't research things, you just go by belief. And that was only done, it goes back to the witches in ancient times as well, who were part of this whole Enki and Enlil thing, and they cast that spell. And now, with any spell, it will wear off after a time. Or once you are able to have the antidote to break out of it. The antidote of the spell of religion is to ask questions, not to believe, to actually know what the facts are, is to go against what they've taught you. But it's like everything's back to front. So you have to literally like reverse that spell. So anything they told you not to do, you have to do. Like question God. Find out where these books come from, where the stories originate. And then we help with Wu-Sabat because the master teacher has written a book answering questions on everything. And that's the knowledge you need. Because think about it. In the garden, as they tell you in the same books that they're using to cast a spell on you, they tell you that you were in this lovely, peaceful place, as in Adam and Eve. And everything was provided for them and they were living peacefully until somehow this character called the devil, or they say the serpent, just appeared from nowhere to tell you that, oh, God is lying to you. They make the serpent a bad person because he's the one that they're saying is the reason why they ate the fruit. But they don't say to you that, okay, once they ate that fruit, what happened? Their eyes were open. And he said that, did God tell you that you will die when you eat this? Just like now, people are being told, when you die, you're going to go to hell, which is a lie. And that if you know the truth, you're doing something wrong. So it's blasphemous to ask questions. But anyway, they ate the fruit and their eyes were open to do what? Know. They said to know good from evil or bad from good. So up until that point, they were under a spell, the spell of religion. They didn't know that God was playing tricks. So in that scenario, God said they will die when they eat the fruit. People say, oh, they are going to die eventually. But it doesn't say that in the scriptures. It actually says they're going to die that day. So the serpent, who was really not a snake, because they make you think is a snake, told them the truth. Because when they ate the fruit, they didn't die. Their eyes were open. They knew good from evil. They knew they were naked. They knew things. And that's the first part of the word knowledge, is to know. So you have to know. You have to know for your own good. Like if you want to be progressive in anything in life, even like AI or any new technology, you have to know how to use it. You can't just hope and believe that, you know, it's just going to go away or it's just going to do it for you without you doing anything about it. You have to study. And when you look at people on the planet, my final point, what makes one person have more advantage than another person? It's all based on what you know.
Knowledge.
It's the knowledge. Like if you have knowledge of, let's say, the stocks that are going to be going up tomorrow, or how you have a way of knowing the stocks are going to go up, you have an advantage over the people that don't. If you know who's going to, imagine you knew the lottery numbers. So the people with the best knowledge are in the best position to take advantage of it. And that's what Wu-Sabat does. Not just knowledge of the physical world, but knowledge of the other aspects of your life that really matter. So yeah, the people with the best knowledge on the planet are going to be in the best position to make the best decisions that will help them in their life. And that's what Wu-Sabat is here to do, to give you that knowledge so you can make decisions for yourself. And then that way, you have no one to blame but yourself. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So, do you have any more questions, or are you
No,
done?
I think, that was it really. I really wanted to know I know I kind of got it from what you say, that Wu-Sabat teaches you to get to where, you know, that place that everyone's been searching for but can't find because they're looking in the wrong places and being fed wrong information. So
Absolutely. And then it just brings about people together, regardless of where walk of life you're coming from, based on truth. And then it's all about respecting each other, knowing how to live together in peace and harmony. And that's it. But what people then try to do is play people against each other, you know, like based on like, you know, racism or you got more than me, materialism. But no, like basic truth is very simple. It's like, it's really easy, but the competitions and the divisions and the religions is what causes the problem, you know. So yeah, thanks for coming, and yeah, start studying as much as possible in terms of Wu-Sabat and the books, and you will find your way. At the end of the day, it's your decision to make. It's no one else's decision that is responsible for your soul. Because that's another thing, like, people don't realize is, when I said the devil makes evil fair seeming, is that if he tells you, if you have the opportunity to know the truth, but you choose not to, he can't be held responsible, you see, because he will be like, but I didn't stop you from knowing the truth. Like, the example I give a lot of the times is when he will take a packet of cigarette, knowing that smoking is bad for you, and say on the packet of the cigarette, smoking kills.
Yeah.
So now he's got himself off the hook.
Yeah.
If you, knowing that people can get addicted to it as well, and it's the temptation, isn't it? Knowing that if you decide, okay, I'm going to smoke those cigarettes, people say, yeah, but there are people that smoke cigarettes and don't die of cancer. Fair enough. But if you take a study of the majority of people over a long period of time, so you've got a bigger sample as opposed to a small sample that may smoke and don't get cancer, you will find that the majority do get cancer. Most of the time when people are crossing over in the media, the one you hear most is cancer, 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 cancer. And you don't just get cancer from cigarettes, but what I'm saying is, if it says on the packet, smoking kills and it causes cancer, and you then take it and you smoke it for a very long period of time and you develop cancer, and let's say you do get to that judgment day, and then God says, you smoked the cigarettes, and you say, yeah, but I didn't create the cigarettes, it was the devil. The devil goes, yeah, but I told you on the cigarette that it kills, but you still smoke it. So whose fault is that? You see, so
We have to be accountable and responsible.
we have to be accountable for our actions ourselves, and that's where people like to think someone else is going to take responsibility. Like, Jesus is going to do it all. He's going to save me. He came and died for my sins. So now I don't have to take responsibility for anything. I just wait, and because he died for my sins, I can sin all day long, and then at my dying point, I say, oh, Jesus,
But he promised
I
me
believe.
this, yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's going to go away.
Yeah.
It's not real. You're fooling yourself. So do the work now and prepare for your other leg of your journey when you cross over to the other states. But yeah, man, once again, pleasure speaking with you.
Pleasure.
And
Thank you for your time.
No problem. Absolutely my pleasure. All right. Tawakum. What I do till the next one.